The geese are never that excited about me feeding them grain. So today's video, we're going to talk about what you do homesteading in the winter. Winter is quite a slow time for us, and we don't actually have a whole lot to do, honestly. We don't have the garden to weed. We don't have all the extra chores with all of the extra chicks. We don't have any goats to milk right now because they're getting ready to have their kids. So there's actually a lot of time on my hands right now. So I'm going to show you guys a little bit of what we do in the winter to keep ourselves busy and all the planning that goes into planning the year on a homestead. So make sure you guys stick around to the end of this video, and I will be announcing a giveaway. So make sure you watch us all the way to the end to be able to get the information on that. Priorities is super important on the homestead. That's something that I always really struggle with. It's hard to kind of lay everything out the way you want to do it. When you first start out, all I want to do is just have everything. I want to have one of everything and do everything and provide everything for our family overnight. And it doesn't end up working that way. You have to slowly build it up over time. So in the book that you guys saw in the last video, I was having to go over, what were going to be my goals that I wanted to do monthly, and then what goals do I want for the next couple of years, and what goals do I want to set for 5 years from now and 10 years from now. And sometimes things happen faster. Like we actually were planning on getting goats this spring, and the cards were in our favor, and we ended up getting these 3 goats in the summertime last year instead. So it ended up working out that way. But there's still things and improvements that we need to make for the goats that we got. And there's other things that we're wanting to do that are going to be new this spring. But we just have to really put it out and lay it out and think about, what things we want to invest money into now for the farm and what sort of things we're going to have to wait and do later on. And priorities is really, really difficult. Getting these girls in the summertime was fantastic, and we definitely love having them, and we're really looking forward to the milk and everything that they're going to provide. But that's something that we have to really think about. If we have any doelings, is that something we're going to want to consider keeping, or are we going to want to sell all of them? Priorities is a big part. What are we wanting to prioritize this year for the farm, and what are we going to need to downsize on or make improvements on? Everything in farming costs a lot of money. Just the fence behind me for the goats cost us a couple $100, and then you still have to put it up and all that labor. And this isn't even a very big pasture. Like, they don't have a huge spot. It's perfect for the winter and fall when they can't be out tethered, but all those things cost money. And so that's why having priorities and goals for the homestead are good, and making sure you have realistic goals. That's why I have 10-year goals, because even though I would absolutely love to have a milk cow right now, the reality of it is that we can't really afford to have a milk cow right now. We need to be able to prioritize that, and start now getting ready and preparing and having that in my mind that, one day we will be set up for a milk cow. And so just having those priorities is really important, and setting those goals so you have something to put forward to, right? Like right now we want to be able to use the income from the homestead to improve the homestead. And so having those goals laid out is what's going to make that a little bit easier for us, because you can't just do everything overnight, and money is the big thing, and the big reason why you have to lay it all out and plan ahead. I mentioned in my last video when I talked about the rabbits, that is a great example of why priorities is important. Setting up the rabbit colonies and raising rabbits again is something that's really important to us. It's something we really loved the first time, and we really enjoyed the meat. We really enjoyed just having moving the little bunnies around, honestly. They were just really fun to have and really fun to raise and quite easy. So we want to make sure that we do that right. And so we're going to need to spend a lot of time and investing a lot of money into proper fencing for them. Then we're going to need to buy the rabbits. So all of that is things that we can think about and get ready. So this winter I've been doing a lot of research on it so that when we are ready and we set it up, then it should be all smooth. But yeah, that's something that we can do in the winter, right? We can kind of start working on things that we would like to do for the following year. So that's all things that keep us busy in the wintertime. All of this is just a lot of cleanup. And as you can see, it's under all of this snow. So during winter, it's great to be able to think all these things and have all these dreams, which I am so bad for in the winter. But the reality is it's going to be a lot of work. And most of it is waiting. Like, as great as it would be to right now go out there and be able to start taking down the old fences to build new ones, I can't. I have to wait until the snow is gone. And it might not be till April if I'm lucky. And even then the ground still is frozen. So it might not be till May till I can actually get in there and start doing the work. So it's going to be a lot to get in there and get all of this done and set up to have the rabbits. But later on this spring, I will be showing you guys that whole process and how we set up our colonies so that we can start raising rabbits here on the homestead again. So that is my garden. From my raised bed / bathtub all the way to the greenhouse. And it is got at least 2 feet of snow covering it. So my poor garden that is completely buried is something else that spends a lot of time on my mind throughout the winter. I really enjoy gardening. I love everything about it, just being outside. The kids really love it. They get to get their hands dirty and wrestle around. So that's something that I also keep a lot of time focused on during the winter. During the winter, we can do our seed orders. You saw in our record book that we actually keep record of all of our seed inventory. So I know what seed I'm going to need to buy for this season. And then I also am able to keep track of like when I need to start my seeds. So it's already written on my calendar when certain seeds need to be started to put in my greenhouse. So that's all things that can be done in the winter as well, just prepping and getting everything ready so that when spring comes, you can just get started. My other super fun winter task is getting to do my breeding pens. So this year is our first year with the heritage turkeys and will be our first year separating breeds out for chickens. So this is something that all needs to be taken into account as well. That is my 3rd chicken coop. So until this all melts, I can't put birds in here for a breeding pen. Once a rooster has fertilized the eggs, they say it's about 4 to 6 weeks that those eggs can be fertilized by that rooster. So that means that all of our hens are going to need to be separated into their breeding pens at least a month beforehand. The turkeys I'm not worried about. As long as they all stay together, we'll have fertile turkey eggs and we only have 1 breed of turkey. But for the chickens, we have various breeds that are all going to need to be separated. So I have the 3 coops. So we've got this large coop, we've got our smaller coop there, and then we also have the snowed-in coop. So each of the chicken breeds are going to need to be divided amongst the 3 coops, and then the geese and turkeys will have to be separated as well. So this is something that I do my planning for during the winter, planning who I want to separate and when, and having an incubation schedule. So turkey eggs take 28 days, chickens are 21 days, and geese, my geese were hatching last year around day 31 to 32. So each one has a different incubation day, which means that we are going to need to plan out how we're going to keep them separate. Turkey breeding season is coming. They're already starting to chase the females. The geese should start laying in February, and I've got all these pre-orders for the chickens. So wintertime is a lot of planning what we're going to do for the breeds and how we want to play it out for the spring. Brooder space is another issue that we have because we end up with lots of birds. So everybody usually spends at least a day in the house. They come out of the incubator. I give them a day Hi, girls. I give them the day in the house to stay warm before I move them on outside. So once they are good and ready, then they move outside to this brooder box behind me, which I'll show you better in a minute. And they stay there until they are ready to be picked up. Now, chicks we end up keeping. We keep in this brooder box until they are bigger, and then we set up plywood to make a bigger box for them. So here is our box. We clean it up before we put the chicks in it because it sits in here. So we'll make sure that it's all nice and clean, and we put new shavings in it. And the chickens will be blocked off, or we'll keep a small flock. This year, I think we'll be keeping the golden Crayleys in here because there's only 4 or 5 of them. So then in here is where we keep them. The reason they're in here is because we have the electricity. We need the electricity to keep the chicks in here. So we have the plywood that can be set up to make a bigger brooder area. So that is what things that we need to consider in winter as well. How we're going to fit everybody for the spring. All right. So you have made it to the end of our video. So it's time for me to tell you what it is. We are going to be doing a big giveaway. Even the birds are excited. We are going to do a giveaway of a dozen hatching eggs of your choice. It will be, unfortunately, to local only because shipping rates in Canada have gotten out of control lately and are really unpredictable, and we don't want to ship a dozen eggs if they're going to end up dying. So we will only be doing local, but if you head on over to our Facebook and Instagram, be sure you like the post, comment on the post, and for an extra, you can share the post and make sure that you are following our accounts. So if you do it on both Facebook and Instagram, you can have, I will add you in as extra votes. And if you like our YouTube video, that can count as an extra bonus, and comment done. All right. So make sure you do all those things to have your name entered in to win a dozen of our hatching eggs of your choice. That can be, you can either do now for our rainbow mix, or you can wait later on for golden Crayley eggs or for some Americanas. So hope to see you all liking and commenting and sharing some love for a little bit of our hatching eggs. That's all for today. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you hit the subscribe button so that you can see more of our content. And we will see you back next week, where we will be talking about these 3 fine ladies and some winter care tips on our goats.